We've helped our clients generate over 8 figures in qualified pipeline and well over 7 figures in new closed revenue, all through smarter outbound growth. But you might be surprised to hear we did it by ignoring almost all the conventional marketing advice out there. If you're tired of chasing vanity metrics that just don't translate to revenue, then you need to understand the one core concept that separates us from everyone else: message market resonance. In this video, I'm going to break down what it is and how you can use it to build a real revenue pipeline. It's about a fundamental shift in how you see your outbound efforts, a shift from celebrating activity to celebrating actual revenue-driving results. Stick with me, because the framework I'm about to share is the single most important asset we have for building predictable, scalable growth engines for our partners. Let's start with a hard truth. In cold email, cold outbound, many people focus on the wrong things. They get distracted by metrics like open and click rates, but in a modern outbound strategy, these can be misleading or even harmful. Tracking opens and clicks can actually hurt your email deliverability, causing your messages to land in spam. Plus, we only send plain text to feel more personal, so that there are actually no links to click anyway. This leaves us with reply rates as the main metric we can track. But the most dangerous trap of all is celebrating a high generic reply rate. We've seen companies celebrate a 5 or 10% reply rate, thinking their campaigns are a huge success. But when you dig in, the replies are a graveyard of polite declines. Thanks, not interested, unsubscribe, not the right person. There's no point in celebrating a 10% reply rate if all of the replies are negative. Each of those negative replies still requires a salesperson to open it, read it, and process it. It's activity, yes, but it's wasteful. It's noise that creates a sense of progress, distracting your team from the one thing that actually matters, generating qualified interest that turns into meetings and then into revenue. This obsession with raw activity leads to a frustrating cycle. Marketing generates a ton of replies, sales get excited by the quantity, but they quickly get demoralized when they realize the quality is awful. They spend weeks, even months, chasing contacts who simply will never convert. Your CRM potentially gets flooded with junk, pipeline stall, and sales cycles drag on. Forecasts become a guessing game. Trust between sales and marketing breaks down even more. And all the while, everyone points to the dashboard and says, but look at all the activity. It's a trap. And it's the main reason so many B2B growth efforts fail to produce consistent revenue. So if we ignore generic reply rates, what do we focus on? The answer is a concept that we built our entire business around: message market resonance, or message market fit. So what is it? It's when your outbound messaging truly connects with the specific, deeply felt pain points and priorities of a well-defined market segment. It's when your message doesn't just get a reply, it gets felt and starts a real conversation. It's the powerful alignment between what you say and what your ideal prospect actually cares about, exact moment they read it. The best analogy is tuning an old school radio. When you're trying to find a station, most of what you'll hear is static. That static is your standard low quality outbound campaign. It's simply noise. You might get little blips of a song, a word here or there. Those are your meaningless negative replies. But you keep turning the dial, making tiny precise adjustments, and then all at once, the static disappears and the song comes through perfectly clear. That clarity, that perfect signal, that is message market resonance. You're no longer just looking for any signal, you're looking for the clear station. When you have resonance, the replies you get change completely. You stop getting not interested or unsubscribed. Instead, you start getting replies like, hey, this is timely. We were just discussing this exact problem last week. How does your solution work? Or let's chat. Or can you tell me more about how you solve for something specific? That's our biggest challenge right now. Or interesting, I'm forwarding this to my VP of operations. You should speak with them. Now, these aren't just replies, right? They're conversation starters. They indicate genuine interest from people who actually have the problem you solve. This is the difference between activity and results. One meaningful conversation beats 100 superficial interactions every single time. Resonance beats reach because it respects the buyer's reality, and that respect is the shortest path to trust and then revenue. To chase message market resonance, you have to redefine your B2B marketing KPIs. It's time to shift from measuring activity to measuring outcomes. Here are the 3 core metrics we use at Asterisk Partners to track true resonance. First, most importantly, is the quality of replies. We stop counting the total number of replies and we start categorizing them. We have buckets such as not interested, wrong person, timing is off, and the one we obsess over genuine interest. This last bucket includes any response where the prospect asks a real question, expresses curiosity, agrees to a next step, or forwards the message to a colleague. When you look at the percentages known as the positive reply rate, it tells you more about your campaign's health than any generic reply rate ever could. The second metric is time to meeting. This measures how long it takes for a prospect to go from an initial outreach to a booked discovery call. When you have strong resonance, this time frame shortens dramatically. Why? Because your message is hitting on a present and urgent pain. The prospect doesn't need 6 follow-ups over 3 months to be convinced to talk. They feel understood and they want to learn more now. And the third and final metric is the conversion to qualified opportunity. This is the percentage of your initial meetings that advance to a formal qualified stage in your sales pipeline. This is the acid test. Did the person in the meeting actually have the problem you solve? Are they the right person? Is there a potential budget and timeline? This metric connects your outbound efforts directly to your pipeline and ultimately to revenue. It proves your outbound engine isn't just creating conversations, it's creating real potential closable business. By focusing on these 3 metrics, you move away from the distracting noise of vanity metrics and start having data-driven conversations about what's actually growing the business. Finding message market resonance or message market fit isn't an art, it's actually a science. It's not about running a systematic process of experimentation until you find a winning formula you can scale. Here is the exact framework we deploy for our partners. So step 1, hypotheses and segment. Everything starts with a clear hypothesis. You can't test everything at once. You have to be strategic. We start by breaking down a client's total addressable market into smaller microsegments. We don't just use firmographics like company size or industry, we go deeper, looking for shared context or trigger events. For example, instead of targeting all SaaS companies, we might target Series B SaaS companies that recently hired their first head of sales. For each microsegment, we then develop 3 to 5 distinct messaging hypotheses. Each one is a different angle on a core pain point we believe that segment is feeling. So angle 1 might be ROI focused. Companies like you'll see a 30% reduction in shipping costs. Angle 2 could be about risk mitigation. Avoid the compliance fines tied to new regulations. Angle 3 might be about process improvement. We help teams like yours get rid of manual data entry. The key is that each message is a testable hypothesis about what this specific group truly cares about. In addition, we may also test the overall approach. So if the offer isn't strong enough for a direct call, we may test keynotes or lead magnets, for example. Step 2, controlled, simultaneous experimentation. With our segments and messaging angles defined, we run a controlled experiment. This part is critical. You don't just test angle 1 in January and angle 2 in February. You test them all at the same time to eliminate variables like seasonality or market shifts. We, for example, would build a contact list for each messaging angle, usually around 500 to 700 contacts per group. This gives us a reliable sample size. Every part of the campaign is identical except for the core message being tested. So same sender, same cadence, same subject line, etc. The only variable is a hypothesis about in this case, the prospect's pain. And this scientific rigor is what lets us trust the results. Step 3, data analysis and iteration. This is where we listen to the market. Within about 5 to 10 days, the data starts talking. But we're not looking at the over reply rate. We are reading every single reply and sorting it out into our categories. We're looking for patterns in the genuine interest bucket. Which message is generating the most questions? Which one is getting forwarded to decision makers? Which one is getting people to book a meeting? Often, the results are surprising. The message you thought was a surefire winner gets no traction, while a long shot angle resonates deeply. For example, we once worked with a logistics company that was leading with cost savings. Reply rates were okay, but the meetings were low quality. We tested a new angle focused on the pain of dealing with unreliable shipping partners. The generic reply rate was a little lower, but the quality of reply shot up. We got responses like, "You have no idea, our last 3 shipments were delayed and it's a nightmare." We had found early stages of market message resonance. Based on this data, we make our decisions. No more gut feel. We look at the data. We kill the losing angles and double down on the winner or winners. Step 4, scale the winning formula. Once you've found a message that resonates with a market segment, you've pretty much struck gold. You now have a repeatable formula for generating qualified pipeline. The final step is to scale it. So we take the winning message and build a full-scale campaign, expanding the contact list for that micro segment. And because we've already validated the message, we can now invest resources with confidence. We know our approximate conversion rate from outreach to meeting and from meeting to qualified opportunity. This allows us to create a predictable forecast for outbound generated pipeline and revenue, something that's incredibly rare in B2B marketing. This framework is extremely powerful, but it's also resource intensive. It requires focus, analytical skills, and the discipline to run controlled experiment, let alone all the infrastructure and the list building, everything that comes as part of it. And frankly, most in-house marketing and sales leaders are already stretched thin. They're managing teams, putting out fires, and trying to hit quarterly targets. They just don't have the bandwidth or specialized expertise to run a rigorous resonance testing program from scratch. And this is exactly where a fractional growth partner comes in. As a fractional partner, we embed within your company with a single focus to build and run your outbound growth engine. We bring all our experience, frameworks, data analysis expertise, and the dedicated resource to run these tests without disrupting your core team. We operate as a specialized extension of your leadership team, providing senior level strategic guidance without the cost for full-time executive hire. Or our job is to find that clear signal in the noise for you. We run the experiment, analyze the data, and deliver a winning playbook your sales team can use to close more deals. This allows your team to focus on what they do best, nurturing relationships and closing business, while we focus on building a predictable pipeline of highly qualified opportunities. So let's recap. The path to an 8-figure pipeline isn't about more activity or higher generic reply rates. It's about a relentless focus on quality over quantity. It starts by ignoring the metrics that make you feel busy and focus on the ones that actually makes you money, the positive replies that lead to real conversations. The key is finding message market resonance, that perfect alignment between your message and your customer's most pressing problem. You find it not by guessing, but by running a disciplined, scientific process. Hypothesis, testing multiple angles, analyzing the quality of the feedback, and scaling what works. This is how you turn outbound from a chaotic art form into a reliable, forecastable science. Now, if you want expert help to run this process and find the clear signals for your business, there's a link below to book a no-obligation strategy call with me. We can talk about your goals and see if our approach is the right fit. And leave a comment below. What is the one vanity metric you're going to stop tracking after watching this video? Thanks for watching.